Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Gemini energy. And we have the second chakra and the door to romance, which is kind of what the second chakra talks about. You know, the first chakra can getting your more base needs met. And then in the second chakra, you're ready to work together with others. So people are ready to work together with others. The reason it came out is because they're all going to go on a journey to learn lessons in life. The journey card reminds me of the Fool card and the Eight of Wands, and the Fool is about going on these new journeys in life because we have these lessons to learn, and the Eight of Wands in Sagittarius is about higher learning and education. You know, we're going to be drawn and attracted to certain people because we have valuable lessons to learn from them. And it's all trying to get us probably to be enlightened to the truth, to learn to love ourselves, to listen to our intuition, to realize love is supposed to be just and fair, that we're supposed to grow and heal and mature ourselves instead of acting from our more immature, base, animalistic nature. You know, we have free will to grow and mature ourselves. And if you're someone who's motivated by love and wants to go on a journey of love, you have to realize the truth that some people aren't. And some people haven't learned some of the same lessons that you've learned. And some people you're not on the same page with, you know, and some people you are. So trust the process. Don't get in your ego about it. Keep being inspired and keep your heart open to love and belief in your dreams. Let's go see what else is coming up. And Gemini energy is air sign energy of the mind, which is about our dualistic free will nature, and that everybody has free will. What some people want to go explore because they're emotionally invested in it, it could be being selfish, being greedy, being materialistic, being self-indulgent. If that's what they love, they're going to go on a journey of learning lessons about being in that energy. Other people have already learned some lessons about being more immature, selfish, greedy, bossy, or controlling, or defensive, and they're ready to move forward in life differently than those people are. So tell us a little more about this story going on in Gemini energy. And this could be something significant going on in the lives that people deal with that are Geminis or have significant Gemini placements, but we all tap into Gemini energy. We all have free will. The Seven of Swords. Why? Because of the Page of Wands. So, the 5, the 6, and the 7, and this person is holding the 5 swords. It's Aquarius energy. We have a dream. We're drawn and attracted to certain things in our fire sign energy of Aries and Leo and Sagittarius. But have we learned to listen to our intuition? Or do we get caught up in our head and we get caught up in our fear and our insecurities and lack of self-belief? If we do, you know, we're not ready to move forward in life differently, and we might kind of repeat an old pattern, and we'll all repeat patterns, a way of living life and viewing ourselves and viewing the world and how we view others. We'll keep living life a certain way until it kind of causes us maybe so much mental conflict that, you know, things don't change. We kind of keep, how did I get back here again? How did I get in a friendship or a job or a relationship like this again? You know, how did my life end up like this again? And when we are willing to take some inspired action to, in Sagittarius energy, kind of wrap our brain around this game of life, and maybe see life from a higher perspective, because Aquarius is also represented by the Star card, and put things in perspective, maybe see where we've kind of been deceiving ourselves. Maybe we've been kind of indulging our more immature nature. Maybe we haven't learned to love ourselves. Maybe we've been living more from our mind than our heart instead of being inspired to let listen to our intuition because, we have our dualistic nature and our worldly nature, and we think we're pretty smart. Air sign energy, we think we're pretty smart. And there's all these things in the world that we're motivated and inspired by that we want to manifest. Well, we were also given our intuition and our creative, inspired, intuitive nature. It's kind of like the other animals of the world. Bats were given sonar, and birds and butterflies know to fly to a warmer climate, even if they never were at that warmer climate. They were born in a place of the world where it gets cold, but when the seasons change, there's something within them that tells them, I need to fly in this direction, and they'll fly for days and days, longer than they've ever flown before in their life, but they don't question it because they don't have free will. It's like innate signal to go do this, and they do it. But we as human beings, we were given our intuition. You shouldn't do that. That's not a good idea. I think you should go home now. But, we think we're pretty smart. We want what we want. And so sometimes we repeat some old patterns. And partly because we can have fear of stepping outside of our comfort zone. And we all kind of like to stay in our comfort zone. And if there's people in our life or we have a certain jobs and friendships, even if it could cause us some mental conflict about eventually over time, like I'd kind of like to go do something different. Can't we go do something different? And the other people are like, oh, no, we can't do something different. We should keep doing this. I was like, gee, I kind of want to go do something different. And do we let the world and our fear and our love for other people stop us? We have our own unique talent, skills, interests, and dreams that can be different than other people. They can be in our immediate family that we grew up with, and they like doing this and we don't really like doing that, and we like doing this, and they think this is important. It's like, yeah, I don't really find that something that drives me. I think this is important. We're all our own unique individual, and we're all on our own journey, right? And high vibe energy is about becoming more independent to live your more authentic life and your truth. But we can get caught up in our head, and some people right now could want to do life differently. And high vibe people, they want to move forward in life, but they're listening to their intuition. If there doesn't seem to be the right environment for them to move forward in life differently, they can move forward in life differently, but engaging other people with them to move forward with them in that way, it's like, I might have the people in my life who are moving forward with me, and maybe I'm not ready to until my intuition tells me, I think some of these new people that we might meet along the way are kind of on the same page, and then we could communicate with those people, how we're moving forward, what our dreams are, what we value, and get to know them. And some of those people will start to come with us, maybe being friends or in relationships with people for 1 or 2 or 7 years, 7 months, whatever. And then as time goes by, though, everybody could kind of enjoy the situation, but it can get to a point where other people, it would require them to have that more hopeful, believing spirit, and it might require them to kind of step more out of their comfort zone. And then eventually some people aren't willing to keep moving forward with you in that way, because it could require them in their fire sign energy of Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius to be willing to kind of look at life as an adventure and maybe be more bold and brave and confident, or be more authentically themselves. And, that is a process of becoming of willing to be kind of more authentically yourself and less manipulated by your fear and your insecurity and your ego and the world and other people in your life. And sometimes we kind of got to part ways with people, because if our intuition tells us that I can have love for them, but if there's something in the Two of Swords that they're still conflicted about having hope and faith and belief and love, and they prefer to live more from their mind than their heart, and my truth is I am more motivated to listen to love and intuition to guide me, and not my mind and not my fear and not the past. We're kind of on different pages. And with a lot of people in our life, we know all sorts of people that in our own family and our community and our neighborhood, you do your life, I do my life, and that's fine. We can all get along just fine. You do you, I'll do me. Not everybody's got to be the same. It's just more conflicting. If it is a close friend that we've been friends with, we'd really like them to move forward with us and keep moving forward with us. If it's a romantic relationship, we'd really like them to keep moving forward with us. And sometimes we could feel that, everybody could have had that more hopeful, believing spirit. Like, I'm sure I will. I'm sure when it gets to that point where I have to make that decision to have hope and faith and belief in myself and in love, I'm sure I'll do it. And then they get there and then it's like, I guess not. Well, then it did help everybody kind of clarify their truth, right? And some of the people who used to think, I'm sure I would, and found out they wouldn't, well, now they're no longer, they can try to keep confusing people about the truth. But if some people have learned, I'm not willing in high vibe energy to kind of step out of my comfort zone. I have a way of living life. I have learned, I have had opportunities to move forward, to let love and intuition guide me, to be more inspired, to live my more authentic life, and I didn't do it. Well, now, if they're not being truthful and honest about it with people, they're being deceptive and manipulative. And some people don't want to tell other people that, maybe there's a way of living life or people in my life that I'm more codependent on, and I'm not willing to become independent of them. But I might want to get in a relationship with someone to make it look like I am. There can be people that you could marry and they're more codependent, and their primary foundation in their life, that is the primary foundation that they align with, is their friend group or their original family. And they're not willing to kind of live their own authentic life, kind of being more independent and being more aligned with the people that they're going to marry and have children with. Sorry, I was kind of being deceptive and manipulative. Really, these people I'm kind of codependent on. And if any of those people at any time say, I don't think you should keep moving forward with those people, they won't move forward with those people, because their loyalty and their primary foundation that they're building their life on is still a different foundation. And it could even just be the world. I make my life more about my ego and my image, or money and materialism, or these things I like to indulge in, or my more immature nature, or my more egotistical, self-centered nature, or my more defensive nature. And that makes me feel safe and secure, and I'm not willing to become independent of that. And if during the course of the relationship you find out that I am unwilling to get out of my head about all those different things that kind of manipulate me to make me feel like I'm safe and this is a smart idea, eventually people realize that they have a lot of things that manipulate them, or they're egotistical, or they're codependent on other people or the world or their ego nature, whatever. So high vibe people are moving forward with people in their life, listening to their intuition. There could be other people who would like, when you move forward in life, there's always going to be other people that are going to be like, can I be the next person to deceive and manipulate you? I would like to be in a relationship with you, kind of indulge in a relationship with you. Can I confuse you about the truth of who I am? And you're listening to your intuition about people like that. I've already learned to listen to my intuition. If people seem to be kind of deceptive and manipulative, not being authentic, trying to maybe tempt me more in my lust, my greed, my pride, my ego, my fear, my insecurity, no. I want to be in relationships with people who also are hopeful and believing, who have a dream, who are also listening to their intuition, who want to communicate with me and move forward with me. They also have learned these lessons in life, not to kind of let their more hopeful, believing, loving nature, because high vibe energy is about maintaining balance within yourself, not getting tipped out of balance and making one aspect more important than another aspect. And so if you're 7 swords up in your head, you're thinking about 3 cups of love. Some people are shadowy, wondering, can I emotionally manipulate you? And other people are operating from a foundation of love, and they're listening to their intuition about the people in their life. And some people already know, because they've already been deceptive and manipulative with you, that, they can't deceive and manipulate you anymore because you've already seen the truth of who they are, and that's why you moved away from them to begin with, right? Then we have a card not showing itself, and the reason it came out is because of the King of Swords, the Empress energy. So the Empress energy, the masculine figures can represent how we present ourselves in the world and the action that we're taking and why we're taking that action. The feminine figures can talk about how we really think and feel, though. Because when we go present ourselves in the world, is considered being in masculine energy. But how do we really think and feel? A lot of people in the world can present themselves in King of Swords energy, Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice, that I'm this just and fair and balanced and truthful and honest, whatever type of person, right? But for some, that's just a false mask that they wear. Really, in their more shadowy Libra Taurus energy, they think it's just and fair to live more from their mind than their heart, to try to manipulate people, to get them to do what they want, maybe kind of more immature, like to be in relationships for their own reasons, not love. Because you're either harnessing high vibe Libra, Taurus, Libra, where you are acting with character and integrity, and you are who you say you are. You really are a just and fair and balanced person who takes action in truth and love. That you really are an abundant person who is willing to give birth to something new. And some people are like, no, I just like to present myself as that. I don't want to give birth to anything new. I want to do this. But they try to get in relationships with people who are more just and fair and balanced and loving and motivated by love, to get those people to get in a relationship with them, to not give birth to anything new with anyone else, and then being deceptive and manipulative that I'm never going to give birth to anything new. I don't want to do things different. I don't want to step out of my comfort zone. I like living more from my mind than my heart, which I view the King of Swords can be like a person's self-protective, self-defensive aspect of self. You can't let your more hopeful, believing inner child out there to play. They could get hurt. We need to protect you. So then they let their more defensive, egoic nature run their life. It's more out of fear and insecurity of love. And maybe because they either indulge their more immature nature, thinking, I don't have to grow up immature myself or love myself or get more balance within myself. I have an idea. I'll just present myself as a more just and fair, loving, stable person so people will get in a relationship with me. But I'm being deceptive because I'm really I don't ever let my more authentic, loving, hopeful, believing nature out to play in the world. You will get in a relationship with my cardboard cutout person. My egoic nature that protects me and keeps me feeling safe and secure. And then people get in a relationship with them, and eventually they kind of realize the truth of that it's not really love, because in high vibe, the Empress is about love. And loving yourself and being balanced within yourself and believing in your dreams and being inspired to wrap your brain around this game of life so your past pain and heartbreak and fears and insecurities don't keep you imprisoned. And you do this work to free yourself. And some people don't think they have to do that work within themselves. That's not my job. I go get in relationships with people who are loving. That's their job to make me feel more stable and grounded and balanced and hopeful and believing. But they'll still never give birth to anything new if they haven't worked through their own fears and insecurities or self-limiting beliefs or their fear of being emotionally manipulated or letting other people or the world or their own defensive nature keep manipulating them. Until they free themselves, it kind of keeps you imprisoned with them. And eventually high vibe people realize that. And it's like, I might have gotten in a job, a friendship, a relationship with you, and you want to keep moving forward in this energy because that's kind of your truth. But that's not my truth, so I'm going to let you go on with someone else, and I'm going to listen to my intuition and do this work to love and believe in myself and believe in my dreams. And then as high vibe people do that, they're going out in the world, and they also seem like a very just and fair and stable and grounded person and loving person. But there's a lot of people in the world who present themselves as being like motivated and inspired by truth and love, right? But sometimes it's more ego or image or lust or greed or codependency. And as you're moving forward in life, what some people don't know about you and some of the people in your life that you've moved on from, you might have been a very loving and nurturing person, and before that could have been was what you led with. Because if you just naturally are a very loving, nurturing person and inspired by love, have these dreams that everybody's motivated by love, and then you found out everybody isn't motivated by love, and some people are kind of immature and indulgent and deceptive and manipulative, and you don't want to end up in that kind of situation again. You can still be loving and nurturing and supportive to people, but you're just more balanced, where before you could have been kind of willing to indulge people more in their poor behavior because you were so sure that people would be motivated and inspired by love, and then you found out they weren't, and it's like, okay, I got to kind of temper myself, and I've got to be, deal with the truth, because the truth sets us free, and I have to see the truth that not everyone is motivated and inspired by love, and there are immature, self-indulgent, deceptive, manipulative people out there, and I don't want to get myself tangled up in a relationship with people who aren't being more balanced and truthful and authentic. So it's kind of like you can't let your more love nature drive your life, because you have to be more balanced, because you know your tendency could be to be over loving and giving and nurturing to people, and love is supposed to be just and fair. So I'm willing to get to know people, and though I could be tempted, because I want this dream and I would like something to move forward, I have to remember that if I don't maintain balance within myself, there are people who think it's just and fair to try to manipulate me and use the love that I have for them to manipulate me. So I have to stay focused on the bigger picture and love myself, and stay focused on justice and fairness and truth and love, and get to know people and speak my truth of what, kind of up front. These are some of the things I've, as you get to know people, if it's wondering if it could be a more involved relationship, that I kind of was in relationships with people who were immature or egotistical or self-centered or deceptive or manipulative or more materialistically motivated. I mean, I want a balance in my life. Yes. Do I want some of these things of the world? Yeah, we live in the world. We all want stability and security and enjoy some of the finer things in life. But I am not willing to give up love in order to have those things, to be in a more balanced, just and fair relationship. I already know I'm kind of a loving, nurturing person, and I can get caught up in trying to change other people. The fives talk about change, but I've learned I can't change anyone. I can offer people truth and love, but unless they're motivated and inspired to work through their own fears, insecurities, defensive nature, egotistical nature, worldly nature, to be more balanced within themselves, my dream can't come into reality with them. So I'm looking for someone who is more balanced, that, it's not just to be more about them. If you're going to work together with other people, you have your own truth, your own dreams, your own aspirations, your own unique talent, skills, and interests, and things that motivate and inspire you, just like them. And it's supposed to be accepting the truth of that we are our own individuals, and we are supposed to respect each other as individuals. And one person, the scales aren't supposed to be tipped in favor, where it's kind of more about them or indulging them, or you giving up your dreams to make it more all about their dream. And maybe initially, you could put in work and effort to help one person get up off the ground, maybe in their career or success, but then you also, and sometimes you don't even know what you're interested in and what kind of a passion of yours is till later, and then people have a problem with it. It's like, well, now you're kind of not making it just more about me. It's like, what about me? What about justice and fairness and being loving and encouraging of me? And it's like, and people can kind of get spoiled in a relationship. It's like, well, I liked it when it was kind of more all about me. It's like, well, I'm sure you did, but I have my own truth and my own things that I want to invest in, that motivate and inspire me and my dreams. Are you not willing to be encouraging and supportive of me pursuing my dreams? And some people are like, I want to be in the relationship with you because it's really nice to be in a relationship with you because you are loving and just and fair and all that stuff. But I'm really kind of a little bit more about me. And if you're no longer willing to kind of indulge me the way you used to, I might not be listening to my intuition, and I got some lessons to learn, because I might think I'll just go find another loving, just and fair person to get in a relationship with, who isn't maybe seeming to want to give birth to anything new. Or want me to really walk the talk, because that's high vibe Taurus energy. And as some people get to know you, and as some people think that, I don't know, that you're still kind of more caught up in the worldly thing and, I don't know, playing games or being more immature, as they get to know you, they kind of realize that there's maybe a lot more emotional maturity than they realized initially, right? Because when you're out in the world, you know, it is, I view kind of Libra energy as our public politician persona, you know, and when we're out in the world, you know, we kind of have a way of just operating with people in general in the world, you know, kind of this general, you know, not too much this, not too much that, because we don't really know them, or it's a work environment, or it's just, you know, whatever. And you're not going to be your more indulging kind of with love everybody in the world. You know, there's a just and fair way to interact with people depending on the type of relationship you have with them. And some people would like you to be that type of person, but your intuition told you from the 7 to the 1 sword that the 6 of Swords, your truth is different, what drives and motivates them, and their idea of the dream life or dream relationship is different than your idea, and they might have thought just indulging in a relationship with you would be like a dream, and you're like, I'm not just going to indulge in something. You know, I have my own dreams, and it's not to get myself tangled up in something immature, you know? So, tell us more about what's going on. Okay. The 7 of Cups, the Queen of Wands, the 10 of Pentacles, the Emperor, the 9 of Swords, the 7 of Wands, the Hangman. And the reason that came out is because of the 9 of Pentacles. Well, I guess we'll just hold it up here. High vibe people have a dream. They have reconciled themselves with some issues and ways of living life and ways of having viewed life or whatever in the past. And they know their worth and value, and they've learned valuable life lessons from those experiences. And they don't have an interest in repeating that past pattern. You know, it's just like the way you lived life and viewed yourself and viewed the world and viewed relationships when you were 15 is much different than how you view life when you're 25, say, for example. And when you're 25, if an opportunity were to come up and somebody was like, you should come back here and we're going to act like 15-year-olds again, it's like, that's not my truth. You know, that isn't what I love anymore. That's not how I view life anymore. I've already been there and done that, you know, and I've kind of become independent of that philosophy of life and way of living life. And I dream of, you know, being bold and brave enough from the 9 to the 10 to keep investing in healing and growing and maturing myself. I don't want to go backwards in life. You know, and I've learned to make better decisions in my life. And high vibe Emperor, which anyone can harness, it's where you've learned all these lessons in the 4 different elements. My heart running my life, my mind running my life, my 3D world kind of running my life, my passionate nature running my life. And I've learned that all 4 are equally important, where before I could have been more caught up in my head and my defensiveness, and that could have been partly some of the reasons why I got in relationships. I could have not learned how to love myself, and I was in more codependent energy, and I was kind of looking for someone to play that role in my life because I hadn't learned the importance of loving myself and standing up for myself. And all these life experiences that I went through, and I went through my more immature phase and letting my heart run my life, you know, again, coming into contact with all these different people in life to help me get more clear about what my truth is and what my truth isn't. And I don't want to give birth to that old way of living life anymore. And that's what some people don't know about you, because they still want to give birth to this old way of living life and keep repeating that old pattern. And you don't want to, and they don't realize that you're not the same person that you were before. You're harnessing your Libra Taurus energy differently, because Taurus is about your philosophy of life. And because of these life experiences, you're not the same person that you were before. And you've also learned the importance of not letting one, two, or three of the four aspects of yourself kind of dictate your life, as if certain other aspects of your life are less important or invaluable. And you've learned it has to all be aligned. It has to be aligned with my truth, with my heart, with my passionate, creative, inspired nature, with my worldly nature. And in my Gemini energy of the Nine of Swords, I'm going to keep focused on looking to the future, focused on truth and love to guide me. And I'm going to stand up for what I believe in, because I have been moving forward. I got out of my ego about some certain things in my life and out of my more defensive nature. And I'm not willing to give up how far I've come. And I'm not going to let my ego stop me, or other people who could be being deceptive or manipulative or immature get me in my ego, because Shadowy Hangman is about being an ego. I'm going to be illuminated to the truth that I know some people are immature, prideful, egotistical, bossy, controlling, materialistic, and I accept the truth of it. That is where they're at. And I know that is not people I want to be in a relationship with. And because you've been illuminated to the truth, it kind of set you free. The truth sets us free. We have to quit being deceived and manipulated. If people were more aligned with the truth of what we think is just and fair, and want to move forward being more independent, more inspired to make better decisions in their life, and also High Vibe Emperor is, when I am in relationships with other people, I will take those people into consideration if my decisions affect them, because I love them. But some people don't want to do that. I want to make decisions that are best for me. And I have this illusion that I can just manipulate people in a relationship, maybe because they love me and want this dream to come into reality. And I think they're fearful of standing up for themselves. So basically, I've got them stuck in a relationship where they're trying to work to be in a more just and fair and stable and loving and inspired relationship. And I'm taking advantage of the fact that that's what they want. And I created the illusion that that's what I wanted too. But the truth is, I'm defensive to looking at life from any other perspective. I have my own way of... So it's kind of like not willing to work with people cooperatively in a just and fair way. It's kind of like, well, no, I have my way. I have my truth. And I think it should be more my way. Well, if you're going to be in relationships with people, it's about working cooperatively together and not operating from your ego, and working together in love, and you work cooperatively with people. And at any time we're in a relationship, things can kind of go on, and we kind of have some conflict about how we're going to move forward next, and we could all have some fears, and change can be scary. But the people that are in friendships and relationships with people, that even though they go through those difficult times, it's like they're inspired to keep working together, because the truth is they have love for each other, and maybe, want to be in these long-term relationships with them. And so then they could kind of work through what, everybody has to take responsibility for working through their own mental conflict about kind of stepping forward in life a little differently than maybe they were before. Maybe there's some things we need to become independent of where, it really can be us kind of wanting to be kind of indulged. And to give birth to something new, we have to become independent of something old, you know? An old way of viewing life or something, and maybe our defensiveness to see things from other people's perspective. And if we're willing to do that and work together, then those types of friendships and relationships and family dynamics kind of keep moving forward. If it's not like a romantic relationship, it can just be that I accept you view life differently than me. That you find this enjoyable, I find this enjoyable. Do I think that you have the free will to live your own life? You don't got to live your life like my life? And we can still get along with people and still treat them in a just and fair manner. If we don't let our ego get in the way of like, well, you think you're better than me, or you think whatever, if people are trying to be just and fair and be loving and encouraging, I accept, everybody's got free will to live their life. So long as when we're working together in whatever capacity, we treat each other in a just and fair manner. Hey, go knock yourself out doing whatever you'd go do and hanging out with whoever you want to go hang out with. Live your life whatever way you want. But do we treat each other in a way that we feel we can let our more authentic nature out to play with them? Or do we feel like, I don't know, I don't think you're very loving, and I think you're kind of bossy or controlling or cold or deceptive or manipulative or egotistical or bossy or something? Well, then I might not want to have much to do with you, and I will let you go hang out with whoever you want to go hang out with. And maybe I won't spend much time with you, we can still wish people peace, At the end of the reading, we have the Seven of Pentacles, which is Taurus energy, kind of combined with Libra energy here. We all have our philosophy of life, of what we think is just and fair. What's just and fair for us and how we want to live our life might not be what other people find just and fair or fun or emotionally fulfilling, and that's fine. But sometimes we do get in these more mismatched relationships where we could have wanted it to work, but the Seven of Cups is Scorpio energy. Then we have Leo energy, Virgo energy, Aries energy, Gemini, Leo, Pisces, Virgo energy again. Virgo energy talks about kind of what our long-term plans were. Are we more motivated and inspired to be more just and fair? To learn lessons in life? Because High Vibe Virgo is about learning lessons. I look at those things that I didn't want to see the truth of, but I see that they manipulate me. And it causes me to not be more just and fair or truthful or honest or stand up for myself, or gets me stuck, gets me defensive, confuses me. Am I willing to work through those things so those things don't manipulate me anymore? And I can feel more balanced within myself, and I'm speaking my truth, and I'm standing up for what I believe in. We have to be willing to get out of our ego to even admit that we maybe could benefit from trying to look at life differently, or working through some of our fears or insecurities, or seeing that maybe things manipulate us, or people manipulate us, or maybe we are kind of bossy and controlling, or think we should be indulged in a relationship. Are we willing to deal with the truth of that? And some people aren't. When we're ready to deal with the truth, we'll deal with the truth, and some people will never be willing to deal with some truths they don't want to see. What manipulates them? They might not want other people to know what manipulates them. Some people are more immature and self-indulgent, prideful, egotistical, self-centered, materialistic, narcissistic. Of course, they don't want other people to know. They want to present this image in the world that they're this just and fair person so that people will want to be in friendships and relationships with them. And then some of the people who do get in relationships with them get to know them best, and they see through the illusion, and they find out someone is much more stubborn, unwilling to budge, fearful of change, unwilling to look at things from anyone else's perspective, likes to live more from their mind than their heart, and their defensive nature, and probably all because it makes them feel stable within themselves. If they were to connect more in their emotions and listen to their intuition and move forward in life differently, they haven't done that much in their life. And so it's extremely confusing, and we're emotionally complex human beings. We all know how confusing our emotions can be. And some people decided, I'm only going to use my emotions in a superficial manner, because shadowy Scorpio that people can harness is, I kind of keep my emotional nature buried beneath the surface. I just kind of create an illusion that I'm kind of balanced between my more worldly nature and my more emotional, creative, inspired nature, but really I do live more from my mind and my heart, because I find them confusing, so I kind of let my egoic nature more run my life, and my maybe defensive nature. And I think that's just and fair. It's just that other people get in relationships with them, and those people don't think it's just and fair because they want to be in relationships with people they can have a deep, meaningful relationship with. And that means people have to become independent of their more self-protective or more immature nature. And they have to be inspired to even want to learn these lessons in life and wrap their brain around this game of life. And some of them are like, I'm not doing that. You can go find someone else. I'll go find someone else. And so the high vibe people could want to, they want to be in relationships with people. A counterpart to the Empress would be the Emperor. The Empress is someone who's emotionally learned these lessons in the Four Suits. The Emperor has learned these lessons of taking action in the world from those different emotional states, basically. And they've learned these lessons to be more independent and more authentically themselves in the world, have worked through some of how their mind and their emotions and their defensive nature and their immature nature and their worldly nature and their passionate nature all has manipulated them before. And it didn't probably turn out the way they wanted. And they realized that I have to stand up for myself against my own more egoic, shadowy, immature, defensive nature if I want to be in relationships with people who are more just, fair, balanced, loving, and I need to be that type of person within myself. And then they do this work within themselves, and they want to be in relationships with other people who are in that energy, and they periodically kind of look at their life to see, am I going down the right path? What am I involved in? Who am I hanging out with? Why did I get in that? Was I deceiving myself? Was I operating more? Did I get caught up in something I shouldn't have and I wasn't seeing the truth of it? What about the people I'm in relationship with? Why are they in relationship with me? Are they being deceptive? Are they creating an illusion? Are they defensive? Did we get along at one point, but now we're not? We kind of got to do this periodic check as we move forward. Are we kind of on the same page or are we not? And if we find out that with some of the people we're not, are we willing to speak our truth? And some people aren't. So they're going to keep staying in and living their life the way they live it because it maybe makes practical, logical sense. And they could be defensive to being single or more independent from something, to have hope and faith and belief in their dreams. And other people are willing to speak their truth, become single or independent, and listen to their intuition because they've learned if I make decisions more out of fear or insecurity or whatever, I've already seen that this is not aligned with my truth. And I've already seen that some other people in my life aren't being just and fair or acting with character and integrity. I'm done being an illusion that they're going to change if I've already offered truth and love and encouragement, and that isn't the truth that they choose to align with. Then I'm going to wish them peace and I'm going to move on. Quit staying in an illusion. But some people, it is all about creating this illusion. I don't like being single. I want to be in a relationship. I want to look like I look like a boss in the world in some way. And some people think that if they're not in a relationship, it says something about their worth and value. Other people think I'm not in a relationship because there isn't someone who's kind of the right person for me to be in a relationship with. And I can focus my attention on my job and my career and my friends and family so that when someone who does come along that is someone who seems to be on the same page as me, I can go get in a relationship with them. Some other people who didn't do that could feel like they got themselves trapped in a relationship that they maybe shouldn't have gotten into to begin with. But they didn't like being single. They were kind of in their ego, wanted to indulge in a relationship, got themselves involved in a relationship, created this illusion of how wonderful and great it was. And then someone comes along who is someone they want to invest in, and it's like, oh shit. you know? And defensive and feeling stuck and all in this mental conflict because I maybe got myself in a relationship I shouldn't have gotten into to begin with, but I'd have to speak my truth. And I'm kind of defensive to illuminating the truth. And some people are realizing, I always thought if someone came along that seemed to be that type of person or whatever, that I would live my life differently. And then they have the opportunity, and then they kind of realize, and they have to kind of also acknowledge the truth. I guess I am kind of more motivated and inspired by something other than love that could manipulate me. And high vibe people accept the truth of it. They keep moving forward. You could have had a new beginning from the 9 to the 10, which the pentacles can mean all these things in the world. You could have gotten a new job, could have gotten in a new friendship, a new relationship. But your high vibe people are no longer an illusion. I'm not going to try to change someone. I'm looking for people that have learned some of the same lessons I've learned and are kind of more on the same page as me, more inspired by being just and fair and authentic and loving instead of more ego-based. So, what's coming up for the high vibe people that they might not see coming? The Six of Cups and the King of Wands. Why? Because of the Queen of Cups. So, by offering love to the situation, the Six of Cups can be where you've kind of reconciled yourself with the past. That a place of peace and balance about it is what the Six of Cups can talk about. And then when you've done that work within yourself to work through the mental confusion, the emotional confusion, I thought some of these people were on the same page as me. They created the illusion they were on the same page as me. But then when it got to be where they really had to kind of walk the talk, they weren't willing to do that. And so I have worked through that. I have accepted the truth of it. And then you're ready to take this more bold, brave, confident action in your life to go on this new journey, listening to your intuition, maintaining balance within yourself, speaking your truth in justice and fairness, treating other people the way you like to be treated, being motivated and inspired to put in work and effort to have stability and security in your life and to stay focused on truth and love and not get caught up in your pride or your ego and standing up for what you believe in, because there could be people who want to be in a relationship with you, but I don't want to be in relationships with people who are deceptive or immature or bossy or controlling or prideful or egotistical. And I think as you keep moving forward in that energy, there's going to be other people in the world that have went through similar situations as you, and they see that you are someone who knows your worth and value, who isn't being deceptive and manipulative, isn't being immature and indulgent or manipulative or whatever, and they're going to want to be in relationships and friendships with you based on love, because they're also looking for people who are more emotionally balanced and healed from the past to be inspired by love, because they are too. What's coming up for people who might harness a more worldly or shadowy Gemini energy? The Ace of Cups. Why? Because of judgment. Well, I think when people are being kind of shadowy in some way, kind of immature, codependent, bossy, controlling, deceptive, manipulative, trying to emotionally confuse people about the truth, trying to emotionally manipulate people to get them to keep moving forward in a relationship with them, but more for their own self-interest, not love. They've had probably some loving, independent people in their life that want to be in a relationship with them, that have been offering them truth and love for them to move forward with them. But they don't want to keep moving forward with them if they keep operating from their more immature, egoic nature. And eventually the high vibe people call judgment on them. From the 9 down to the 7 is the 2 of Pentacles. I've been going back and forth. I haven't wanted to pick up my investment in this because I keep kind of deceiving myself that one day you'll see the truth and one day you'll become more independent of whatever manipulates you and we can move forward in this relationship. But if they keep not willing to speak the truth or be more just and fair or loving in a relationship, eventually the high vibe people in their life quit going back and forth. And they say, I wish you peace and love, but I'm leaving. And I'm going to go on a new journey. Even though I didn't want to go on a new journey, I know if I keep staying here, my dream is never going to come into reality because your idea of how you want to move forward and your truth is different than my truth, and I need to accept the truth of it. And that's like Judgment Day. And then they're going to do this work within themselves, just like some of you did, to stand up for themselves and believe in themselves and reconcile themselves with this situation, get out of their ego, learn the lessons they were meant to learn from it, that I need to stand up for what my truth is. And if I want to be in more high vibe Scorpio is more deep, meaningful relationships versus the illusion of love. I really want to do love, and I want to be in relationships with other people who are motivated to be in a deep, meaningful, loving relationship. Eventually, they work through the emotional confusion and the illusion of people and who they thought they were, and they accept the truth. If you were motivated and inspired to work together with me in a more balanced, just and fair way from love, you would. And apparently that's not your truth, and it may never be your truth. So I'm going to become independent of you. I wish you peace, but I'm moving on. And that can be something that the kind of more worldly, shadowy people don't see coming, because some of them are full of themselves. It's like, what? How can you not want to be in a relationship with me? I'm like a shining star, or I look like I have justice in the world, or I have certain looks or money or power or asset or social clout. How can you not want to be in a relationship with me? And they might not want to see the truth that, of these shadowy ways of being that they could have. And what they don't see coming, there'll be other people who want to be in a relationship with them who also might say, hey, those people didn't want to be in a relationship with you, but I do. This makes practical, logical sense. I don't mind being in a relationship with someone who's more immature, or lives more from their mind than their heart, or doesn't want to give birth to anything new. I'm okay being in a relationship with you and moving forward with you and creating an illusion of how wonderful our life is. I could be single and I don't want to be single. And you seem like you have a certain status or image or whatever. I'll be in a relationship with you because I'm stressed about loving and believing in myself or believing in love. So I'll invest in you. I'll create an illusion of how wonderful it is. And if that's their truth and that's how they want to live their life, that's fine. It's just that other people realized, I can't do that. And when I got in it, I maybe didn't realize that's what it was. And maybe I really hadn't learned to love myself and be more independent and stand up for myself. And I was maybe a more codependent energy. But through the course of the relationship, I learned to appreciate what I brought to the table and be willing to stand up for myself. And then when I did that, those people didn't want to be in a relationship with me anymore. And they wanted to go find someone who was still more codependent, because some people like being in more codependent relationships. Then they can seem like the parent and you're the child. Got an alarm on my phone. Or they seem like the boss and you're like the employee, And they don't like people being more independent. It's like they can come across as loving and nurturing. In a lot of ways, they can be loving and nurturing and supportive. But they don't want you to be more independent or quit being more caught up in the worldly motivated view of life, because that's how they view life. And then if you start looking at life differently and get more inspired to make your life more than just about those things of the world, well, that's not their truth. And then they don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore. But other people want to be in a relationship with them. Other people in their Aquarius energy who are more about the world or ego and image or indulging themselves in something, They don't have to be an Aquarius. It's just in their Aquarius energy, are we more motivated by the world, or are we kind of inspired to make our life and believe there's more purpose to being on this planet than just being about ourself or indulging ourself or ego and image, Inspired to offer love to the world, to help other people heal and grow and mature themselves, for them to grow to their full potential. And shadowy energy can be competitive energy. Why would I want those people to do well? I kind of like the attention on me. I don't want that person to be in the spotlight. More shadowy people. Everybody's like their competition, and they don't like anybody. If everybody else were to drive their life off into a ditch, like, they'd be happy. Look how amazing I am. Those poor sorry suckers. Other people want everybody to heal and love and believe in themselves. And other people are like, I don't really care. So there you go, Gemini. I wish you peace, love, and joy. But I think if people are investing in relationships not because of love, there will be people in their life that will call judgment on them, because they'll feel deceived by someone who tried to present themselves as being a more just and fair and stable and loving and more authentic authentically motivated by love person in the world. That is the public persona they give off. But that isn't how they've been acting, because they had the opportunity to move forward with people and kind of be a leader in the world. But the truth is, they're kind of more about indulging themselves, and other people will, that in their life, will see the truth of it, and other people in their life will kind of be defensive to them and kind of not interested in indulging them in their illusion, and they'll go invest their time, energy, and effort into people who are just being more authentic and growing up and maturing themselves. So there you go, Gemini. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.